Story 1. AITA parents bought younger sister with serious issues a $25K car for Christmas while all I got was a phone case. Been needing a car for a couple years. Parents promised one, but gave her one instead. Original post December 29, 2019. In my family there are 2 kids, sister and I, and my parents. Christmas was coming up and I've been wanting a car for about a year now because I've recently gotten my green peas, Australian thing that you can get when you're older than 18. My parents have mentioned in the past the idea of me paying for half and they'll cover the other half of a car under total 10K AUD. I can afford this as I've saved most of my money from the 2 jobs I've kept since I was 14, so no biggie. I've also been relying on my mom to drive me to work for the last 4 years, so it was a smart move on their end, rather than driving me the 30 mins each way every shift I've got. My sister has just turned 17, which is when you can get your red peas in Australia. She's never had a job and has no money saved whatsoever. I love her a lot, but she's made some questionable decisions toward her future lately. But that's a separate story. My parents haven't seemed to care as much as they probably should have about these things, and are acting like everything's normal and all good. With Christmas coming up at the time and my birthday in early January, I thought this might be the time my parents get me that car I've wanted for the last year, as they've mentioned this idea for the last couple months. I'm obviously excited the week leading up to Christmas, wondering what type of car they've bought or what they're looking at. I wake up Christmas Day around 10 a.m. to the sound of my younger sister crying, but in a happy way. I'm excited for her as she's obviously gotten something she's wanted. I walk downstairs and no one's at the Christmas tree, but a present with my name is sitting there. I figure I'll come back to it after I find my parents. Check the front door and it's wide open. Walk out to the driveway to see a brand new blue Hyundai i30 sitting in the driveway with a big ribbon on the front, around 25K. My sister is at the side of it crying with my parents' arms around her. I ask who it's for and my parents tell me her. I probably could have handled this better, but I stormed back into the house, closed my door and stayed in there for the rest of the day. Didn't go with my family to see everyone else for Christmas because of how annoyed I was. My parents asked me why I did that when they got home, so I asked them why they bought her a car before me, who's older, willing to pay half, had a job, goes to school and has a stable plan for the future. They don't have an answer to that one, so they just stay quiet, and after a couple of minutes of awkward silence, they walk out. By this point, I've forgotten about the present they left under the tree downstairs, so I walk down to open it, and it's a new phone case from eBay, something I had no use for. I can't get over what they've done. Am I the asshole? Verdict: not the asshole. Relevant comment? Zitrusfleisch. NTA. Everyone would be pissed at these disproportionate gifts. However, your birthday is in early January. Could they be planning on getting you a car for your birthday? That could be a possibility, and I'll have to wait and see on that one. But now that I've thought about it more and this has happened, I've realized the favoritism has been clear all through my life. She's always gotten the better version of everything, their time and affection. They easily dedicate more of their time to her overall, despite being essentially a dropkick. Life sucks sometimes, and I'm coming to learn that now. OP, when asked if anything was left out of the story, my reaction to the Christmas morning surprise was definitely a little toned down because it was too many characters, but there was a lot of swearing under my breath, punching pillows for a solid half hour. But other than that, not much left out. Small update in the comments. Here. Update. I've had a long and deep chat with my parents. I've told them exactly how I feel and what reminded them about what they promised. They sounded apologetic, and I think maybe they're starting to understand my point of view a bit more. They said they didn't want to ruin anything but to wait until my birthday and see what happens. However, I feel like this wasn't their intention all along, and they only said that to get me back on their side. I'll wait and see how it all turns out, but only time can tell. Thanks for all the comments and upvotes. I'm trying my best to reply to as many as possible, but it's going to take some time. I hope everyone has a great holidays, and I'll update mid-Jan when I know the final outcome. Update January 14th, 2020. Update. So, my birthday was 11th of January. My parents were seeming nicer than usual the entire week beforehand. which might have been because they had time off work or they had a surprise. The outcome was somewhere in the middle of what I was expecting, though. On my birthday, they told me that they were sorry for buying my sister a car for Christmas when I deserved one and really needed it more than her. So they told me that they'd given me $10K to be able to afford something I'd really like and enjoy taking care of, and also to drive to and from work, to school, uni, and everything else. The outcome couldn't have really been much better than this one, especially since they originally said they'd help with $5K toward the car I want. So I'm pretty happy with it. Not going to complain anymore about the situation. I just hope they stop the favoritism and obvious extra love and support they give to my sister all the time. Thanks for all the support on the original post. I think we're around 7.7K upvotes as of now, which is pretty good. And thanks for all the messages with advice on the situation. Edit. The 10K upvotes make up for the 10K difference in money. Thanks everyone. Story 2. AITA that my husband is planning to go on a dinner date with a long-term ex. Original post October 22nd, 2024. Throwaway account. I really need input from people who don't know us so their opinions aren't biased. I'm very emotional and tired, so I apologize in advance for any typos. My husband, Jack M. 36, used to date Emma F. 34 for years. They broke up because Jack didn't want to get married or have kids. Emma moved away, and about a month later, Jack met me, F. 30. I don't look like the typical girls Jack had been dating. For example, Emma is super tall, blonde with blue eyes, and has a PhD. I'm petite, 110 pounds and short, I'm a nurse, I have dark curly hair, and I'm an introvert. Apparently she was a social butterfly. Jack has a group of friends that he's known since childhood. They are like brothers to him, but from the very beginning, they didn't like me. They still call me the rebound girl. At our wedding, during his best man speech, he joked, "We all thought rebound girls were temporary, but our brother Jack made an honest woman out of her." Everyone laughed. I didn't. They also joked that I'm just a nurse and that Jack downgraded, since he has a PhD technically postdoctoral, from a doctor to just a nurse. For my own sanity, I ignore them, and Jack still hangs out with them regularly. Last weekend, there was a fundraising gala, and Emma was there. I saw her for the first time in person. Jack introduced me, and Emma said, "Yeah, I know who she is." The guys weren't kidding when they described her, haha. Jack quickly changed the topic and asked how long she was in town. She said for a week, and then they ended up chatting all night, reminiscing about old times. I decided to talk to other people. Later, at bedtime, Jack mentioned that he should go out to dinner with Emma. I assumed he meant inviting her over, so I asked what kind of food she liked so I could make it. He said no, it would just be the two of them. I asked, "Like a date?" And he replied, "No, just two friends going to dinner. Why are you so insecure?" I asked him, "Do you miss her? Do you miss being with her?" He said, "I'm not going to lie, it felt great talking to her tonight. There's just something about her." I got really upset and told him he can do whatever he wants, but if he goes on this dinner date, I'm done. He thinks I'm overreacting and being insecure. So wise people of Reddit, is this rebound girl overreacting? Update October 23rd, 2024. It's 4:45 a.m. and I didn't sleep last night. I thought I'd post an update. I decided to stay awake and talk to him when he came home. When he did, I told him, "I could have tracked your location, shown up at the restaurant, and done so many things to get my answer. But I'd like to believe you have enough respect for me to tell me. Were you on a dinner date with your friends or Emma?" He showed me pictures and said, "No, it was all of us. Me, my friends, and Emma." I was stupid enough to feel relieved, even feeling bad for accusing him. Then he told me to sit down because we needed to talk. He said that after seeing Emma at the gala, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He decided to take Monday and Tuesday, yesterday, off and spent the whole day with her, while I assumed he was at work. He went on about how strong their connection was, how they couldn't stop talking, and how much he enjoyed being with her. He told me I'm a sweet woman, but he never felt that spark with me. He said that at dinner, Emma was laughing and having fun with everyone, and it felt like old times, compared to me being quiet and uncomfortable around his friends. He said it's best if we go our separate ways. I asked him if they had sex, and he didn't reply. I asked again and again, but he still wouldn't answer. I was so upset and asked, "Why did you marry me if you're not over her?" He said he thought I was the one, but these past 2 days made him realize there's no spark between us. He kept going on about how sweet I am and that I'll find someone too. I told him to shut up. I said, "Emma knew about your cancer treatments. Where was she when you needed a friend? Why didn't she ever call you back then?" He went quiet. I feel stupid for ignoring all the red flags over the years and wasting 6 years of my life with him. My next step is hiring a lawyer and finding my own place. I feel so numb right now. I'm going to contact my brother to help me. Thank you, everyone. Ken Estebex brings guests for sleepover if his name on the house title October 23rd, 2024. I will see a lawyer soon. My ex and I got in a huge argument tonight. We share a house that we are currently live in. He sleeps in our bedroom, I sleep in the spare room. He told me tonight that he wants his girlfriend to stay with him. Yes, at our house, while she is in town. Can I legally call the police to kick her out? Or since house is under his name too, he can bring anyone and cops can't do anything. I suggested he moves out so he can invite whoever he wants, but he doesn't want to pay mortgage for our current house and rent for a place he would be staying. Update 3 November 18th, 2024. So many people have asked for an update. There isn't much to share except that my ex has been extremely difficult. He and his affair partner, AP, took time off work. They are traveling and having fun. He refuses to respond to or acknowledge me. I no longer have access to his money. I'm working extra shifts to cover the mortgage. I've met with 2 lawyers, but I realized I can't afford their fees. Thankfully, I have access to free legal advice sessions through my Employee Assistance Program, EAP, at work, so I'm currently on the waiting list for it. I'm planning to send him the bill for half of the house expenses since we separated. Meanwhile, he's out traveling and I'm working overtime to pay the mortgage. I can't put the house on the market because I need his signature on the papers, too. So, basically, no real update on my situation. His family has pretty much ghosted me. His mom initially acted sympathetic, but then stopped replying. His friends never liked me, so that isn't much of a surprise. On the bright side, I do have an empty house now. I love how quiet and peaceful it is. I can cry for hours without worrying that anyone will see me. Edit. Yes, Emma knows he can't get her pregnant. I thought I was clever by telling her. Their long-term plan is either adoption or using a sperm donor IVF. I felt disgusted hearing about it because adoption was our plan. Now it's his and her plan. Story 3. AITA that my husband is planning to go on a dinner date with a long-term ex. Original post, December 26, 2024. I, 28F, have been busting my butt for years to save for my own house. I work in software, so I make decent money, but it still takes forever to build up a good down payment. Meanwhile, my younger sister, 25F, is in grad school with barely any credit. Our parents, both mid-50s, found a house near them and decided she needs it. They made an offer, without telling me, and now the deal only goes through if I co-sign. The problem? I had no clue they'd do this. My parents basically dropped a bomb. You have the best credit score. Co-sign so your sister can get the house. They also hinted I should chip in for the down payment because you've got the money. If I co-sign, I'll be on the hook if my sister can't pay. She's still in school, has debt, and zero backup plan. The bank might also reject my future mortgage application since they'll see I'm already tied to another loan, but my parents say I'm selfish and forgetting family values. My sister's calling me a monster for leaving her stranded, and my mom threatened to cut off any future financial help, like wedding money, if I don't help right now. Some relatives think it's insane my parents tried to rope me into this after they already made the offer. Others say I should just do it for the family's sake. I feel guilty, but also mad they put me in this spot. AITA for protecting my own finances, or are they wrong for strong-arming me into co-signing a mortgage I never wanted in the first place? Edit. I'm actually adopted. LMAO forgot to mention in my confused and angry state. My parents adopted me when I was very young because they'd been struggling to conceive. A few years later, they had my younger sister naturally, which was a huge deal to them. She was their miracle baby. Ever since, it's felt like my role in the family became the older, adopted one, while she was the golden child who could do no wrong. Growing up, I was expected to pitch in more, be more responsible, and generally look out for my sister. I worked my butt off in school, snagged scholarships, and eventually landed a good job in software. All the while, I felt like my family mostly saw me as the fallback option in case anyone needed financial or emotional support. Now that I'm actually building my own life, saving for a house, focusing on my career, I'm realizing how my success just makes me look like a bigger piggy bank to my parents. The more independent I become, the clearer it is that I need to separate myself from the constant guilt trips and the unspoken expectation that I'll always bail them, or my sister, out. I love them, but I can't keep sacrificing my own future to maintain a dynamic where I'm never the priority. So thank you all for the wake-up call. Update to come. AITA has no consensus bot. OP was NTA. Relevant. Top comments. Why didn't OOP's parents co-sign the loan? OP, they have financial strains and don't want to incur their risk, and don't have the best credit either. Why didn't OOP's parents help her with buying a house? OP, we were at odds due to another family issue. Commenter 1. So, your sister is the golden child, and you are not. Don't co-sign the loan. Tell your parents to give your sister the wedding money, and since your finances won't be a dumpster fire, as they would if you co-sign the loan, you'll pay for your own wedding, and we'll be sure to send them a picture since obviously they won't be there. Tell them how much you appreciate them freeing you from having to care for them as they age, since that will fall 100% to your sister. NTA, but your family is really toxic. OP. Probably something I should have said this, but was blinded by my confusion and forgot to mention. I was adopted, not as a baby, but around the age of 6. Was always different, and never bothered to reconnect with bio-mom. I knew I was an outsider, but as I got older and somewhat overshadowed my younger sister with my successful career, I think it created a resentment between my parents and me. So I think it's hitting at breaking point and really showing. Commenter 2. Absolutely do not co-sign. NTA if you refuse. Let your mom not pay for the wedding. If she's threatening now, she will again. In the end, she probably won't. But that's not the main reason not to co-sign. The main reason is there is a huge chance you will be in debt for a house that is not yours. Commenter 3. Terrible idea. Why does she need a house RN if she has barely any credit and she's mid-grad school? An apartment sounds like what she needs. Commenter 4. Lock down your credit score and make sure they can't use your information anyway. My sister had hers trashed by the ex because he would take out loans in her name. I have seen parents do this as well, regardless of the child's age or consent. Update #1. December 27th, 2024, next day. Okay, so here's where I'm at. I'm absolutely not signing my sister's mortgage, and I'm definitely not pitching in for any down payment. This whole thing was the final push I needed to realize how messed up our family dynamic has been for ages. I mean, I've always known it was bad, but having them basically try to volunteer me and my finances without even asking just crossed a line I can't ignore anymore. I'm done. I've decided to cut ties. I'm already in the process of dropping any financial entanglements we might have, cutting off shared accounts, making sure they can't use my information for anything, and basically scrubbing them from my finances. My job lets me work remotely, so I'm planning to move out of state soon. That was always in the back of my mind, but now it feels urgent. I need space, distance, and a real shot at a normal life without the constant guilt trips. I'm also locking down my credit, freezing it, changing passwords, everything. I'm not taking any chances that someone might try to open a line of credit in my name. I've seen enough horror stories, and I'm not about to become one. Thankfully, I'm not alone in all this. My close friends have been incredible. They're basically my real family at this point, helping me pack, offering me a place to stay if I need it, reminding me that I'm not crazy for wanting to protect my future. They've been the biggest source of support, and I'm honestly so grateful to have them in my corner. So yeah, that's it. I'm not signing. I'm leaving. I'm done. If my family wants to blow up at me for abandoning them, so be it. I've got to look out for myself, my credit, and my sanity. Here's to hoping things only get better from here. Everyone who commented their 2 cents are amazing people, and I thank you all for your support while I'm dealing with this. Truly thank you. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Be sure to freeze your credit with all 3 bureaus and freeze your social security number as well. OOP clarifies the timeline on when she was adopted into the family. OOP. Honestly, it's not as dramatic as it sounds. We're 3 years apart in age. I'm older, but my adoption was finalized around the time my sister was toddler-aged. The process itself had started earlier, and it wasn't all done in a day. My parents had me placed with them before it was legally official, so by the time the paperwork went through when I was 6, she was already 3. It's just a messy timeline that happens when adoption, fertility struggles, etc. I forget all the details sometimes, my apologies. Commenter 2. I would also contact the financial institution that is issuing the mortgage and tell them you're not involved in case they forge your signature. They have your social security number and may have already had the bank run your information. Update #2, December 28, 2024, next day. Discovered a credit card in my name. Okay, I was really hoping the update post would be the last one, but here I am. I didn't expect it to turn into a bigger mess. After deciding not to co-sign the mortgage for my sister, I started taking extra precautions with my finances, locking down my credit, pulling my full credit reports like you all suggested. I wanted to be absolutely sure no one could use my information without me knowing. That's when I stumbled on an active credit card I didn't open. Some of you guys warned me, and I guess I wasn't fast enough to lock down. It's been around for a couple of years now. It was being used, but I'm assuming my parents wanted to keep it from me with the intention of using it as leverage. As of yesterday, the statements show purchases that look a lot like household expenses. The billing address on file points right back to my parents' home. I confronted them via text because I'm currently a couple hours away with a close friend. They claimed I benefited from these expenses, which doesn't make much sense, like how did, because they never helped me with setting up my own apartment. Also, it explains why they assumed I'd be okay with co-signing. Turns out they've been using my credit for a while. Needless to say, I feel completely betrayed. This wasn't some tiny oversight. My parents have been quietly using my name to fund their expenses. Now I'm talking to a professional to figure out whether I should dispute the charges or close the account outright without tanking my own credit in the process. It's nerve-wracking realizing how they went behind my back even before this mortgage BS. At this point, I'm even more determined to move out of state to get distance from all this. My job is thankfully remote-friendly, so relocating won't wreck my career. My friends have been amazing, offering support so I don't completely lose my mind. If it weren't for them, I'd be a mess right now. I'm not trying to be vindictive or overdramatic, I just need to protect myself. The trust is gone, and I don't see how I can maintain a healthy relationship with people who thought this was okay. It's sad, and I wish it didn't come to this, but I've got to prioritize my own future. I'll let you know if anything else major happens, but for now I'm focused on fully separating my finances from my family, getting ready to move, and making sure I don't pay the price, credit-wise, for something I never agreed to. It's scary, but I'm hoping it'll be worth it to finally have a life and a credit score of my own. Relevant? Comment? Commenter 1. Well, if they opened credit in your name, that is considered identity theft. You should file a police report. Let the chips fall where they may. Commenter 2. Hang in there. Don't forget to check with Check System to make sure they haven't used your name to sign leases and utilities that won't show up in a regular credit bureau check. Commenter 3. If there is debt left on the card, then you should contest that with the CC company. You want that debt to come off your credit rating. This also reads like identity theft. You have grounds for reporting your parents to authorities. Commenter 4. File a police report now. You're not liable for any of this and can get it wiped through the courts, but the first step is reporting the identity theft. Story 4. AITA for not dropping out of a house party despite it making my ex's new fiancé uncomfortable. My ex, 27M, and I, 26F, split 2 years ago. We met through my best friend, who worked in the same theater as him then, and the reason we broke up was because he didn't think we were working anymore. It was pretty amicable. I didn't put up a fight or anything, but I strongly believed there was no reason for us to be friends anymore. That always causes problems. But I'm still friendly with his friends, and I make small chat if I run into his parents. We live a pretty close-knit environment. Don't ask me how. We live in a city, but most of my friends and his come from either the same uni or have a common hobby, or we roam around the same circles, and we definitely see each other once or twice every couple of months. My ex has a fiancé now, and I am happy for them. I have never met her. Until now I thought this didn't matter or anything. We are all adults, or so I think. One of his closest friends, Peter, just bought a house. I am friends with his girlfriend, and we are both invited to the housewarming. I didn't think any of it, however, my ex texted me yesterday after like a year, albeit very politely, that maybe I could skip the housewarming as he was bringing his fiancée, and she will feel uncomfortable. I was pretty weirded out by his wording, so I called him. He said his fiancée feels uncomfortable that I would be anywhere close to him, and the fact that they both feel like I sometimes intrude into their social gatherings, just to prove I'm better than her to his friends. I got pretty mad hearing him say these things, and I asked him in what way. We are not friends, and I stopped hanging out with his friends the moment we broke up to not make things difficult for him. There were a lot of people in his circle I became close to, but I stepped away just so that things weren't awkward for any future partner. And how was it my fault? My ex explained 2 of his friends didn't like or respect his GF and thought her an airhead, and so did his parents. Our circles are, I admit, full of literature and theater people, and I admit some of them can be pretentious. Again, I told him that was him being a spineless BF and not my problem. I told my ex strongly that both Peter and his GF are my friends, and I would be going to their housewarming, and his relationship issues are not my problem. I have blocked him now, and his fiancée sent a long text on how she was sorry, but now I was apparently being vindictive. And how did it matter if I didn't go to a housewarming? She asked me to not make any drama and please respect her. I didn't reply and blocked her. My friends are pissed at my ex, and I haven't told my friend or Peter any of it yet. I think maybe I could have handled it any other way. AITA, relevant comments. OOP gives context on her relationship to Peter and his girlfriend. Peter's GF and I have been friends for a long time. We were even roommates for 8 months. Technically, I'm a closer friend to Peter than my ex is, even though they are college friends because of his fiancé's antics, and Pete and another one of his closest friends are drifting away from my ex because he insists on bringing her everywhere, and they don't like her. Out of all my ex's friends, it's only Pete I'm close to, mainly because of his GF. Plus, his GF and Pete met through me, so I'm a very close part of their friend group. Which is why I was pissed at my ex, because I can understand if he was telling me to skip his best friend's party. Telling me to skip one of my closest friend's housewarming for his fiancée, who people don't like there, sounded so stupid. I know something's too. NTA. But you should tell Peter and his girlfriend, your ex and his fiancée are dicks. It is not your job to manage their emotions or insecurities. If she's uncomfortable, then she should stay home. Fry one fat manic. I agree. Peter should be told before the ex has a chance to spin this and make OP the bad guy. OP. Peter is one of those people who doesn't like her. Our circle is mainly filled with people who mix within a certain type of bookish thinking. Plus, Peter and another of my ex's friends think she is anti-intellectual. Most of my ex's friends are like that. Theater people or really pretentious assholes. Peter doesn't like her more because he thinks my ex was stupid to break up with me and couldn't handle it if I was doing better than him. Their friendship is already on thin ice, and I don't want to be the reason it breaks. Foxy sly old stoty fox. I was apparently being vindictive. And how did it matter if I didn't go to a housewarming? Call me a cynic, but the fiancé is being vindictive, and how does it matter if she or your dickhead ex don't go to a housewarming? Terror alpaca. Unblock her and text her back. Your insecurities are not my problem to fix. If the housewarming isn't that important, then you and ex are welcome to sit this one out. I will be celebrating my friend's next step into the future with them. Then blocker. Fresh_caramel 8148. NTA. You've handled everything fine. This is their issue, not yours. Anytime you're at the same location as them, obviously avoid them at all costs. And I would really minimize speaking about them at all. The more you can firmly say I don't talk or think about you, the better. Oh, and the irony. Everything she said to you goes right back at her. You've done nothing in this scenario. It's your ex's request that's creating the drama. Update December 27th, 2024. Thank you for all the lovely suggestions in my previous post, which is why I am doing an update. I did go to the party. Honestly, after reading that yes, my ex had in fact lost his mind, I decided not to bother Peter or his GF, my friend, and just go and mind my business. It's not like my ex and his fiancée would come and scream the house down on seeing me. Again, I guess I didn't mention in my last post, and the reason I was more mad at my ex was because I have a very serious boyfriend. The idea that my ex's fiancée would think I'd go anywhere to spite my ex despite having a boyfriend was really insulting. We went to the housewarming and I ignored them. I don't care. We are all adults, and I am not going to fuel drama. And my ex and his fiancée, her especially, made a fool of themselves. And at some point, even I felt bad because I saw how desperate she was for my ex's friends to respect her or take any one of her sentences seriously. Whoever she tried to talk to ignored her or straight up walked away. Again, Peter and my ex's friends are a different group, and I'm not friends with them. But the way my ex let his friends treat his fiancée made my blood boil. I mostly hung out with my friends, Peter's GF's friend group, and I didn't speak or look at my ex once. One time he said hi, and my boyfriend said hello back, and we didn't see him near us for the rest of the night. His fiancée just asked me if my dress wasn't a bit too modest. And Peter told her everyone there followed the dress code. Casual, elegant. Don't ask me, I didn't make the rules. But she didn't. My boyfriend already loathes my ex, so we did not mingle near them again. Overall, I had a good time. We even got to leave early and have some more time to ourselves, watched a movie, and had a good time at home. However, what pissed me off was how much of a shitty fiancé he was, and how much his fiancée was trying to fit in and failing, and he wouldn't even help her. My boyfriend isn't just a bookish person, and he doesn't fit in with some pretentious people either, and he is very blunt, so some people don't like him. Plus, he loves video games and comics and has hobbies, trekking, diving, which scare me. But we compromise and learn to adjust to each other's interests. Plus, if someone treats my BF even a little like how they treat my ex's fiancé, I'd cut them off, no questions asked, and I'm already LC with a few friends who judged and made comments about him in the past. I really hope she leaves him. If she has any dignity or he gets his shit together, all in all, not my problem. Relevant comment. Pristine Armadillo 812. Something about the first story and the modest dress comment has me thinking the new fiancé was an affair partner and she's always been insecure about OP. She's been competing with you longer than you realize, probably. Hill Mikhaelson. I agree with you. It seems like that girl was the AP of OP's ex-fiancé. That would definitely explain the competition, insecurity, why his friends treat her so badly, and why his parents don't like her. It would also explain why he doesn't respect or try to protect her. Why would he take someone with no morals seriously? I bet OP's ex-fiancé's friends and parents like OP more, and the girls in the group are probably making that girl's life hard out of fear that she'll go after their boyfriends. Just like she did with OP's ex. OP, keep your distance from them. They don't deserve even a minute of your time. Surround Miserable 262. You handled this perfectly. Part of me felt like she didn't want you there because she didn't want the reality check, because she has now had the opportunity to see how you interact with people, how your boyfriend interacts with you, and how people interact with her boyfriend. And the paradox between your situation and her situation. It's a shame you blocked them because I imagine if they were messages in backlash to your success versus hers, they would have been glorious to read. But importantly, you don't care. In fact, you have empathy for her. That's great. Shows how beautifully you've grown over 2 years. Bonham 42. Wow, you are a genuinely nice person. After she took a petty dig at you, you are more mad at how your ex's friends treat her than your ex was. I think that says a lot about your character and what a strong and confident person you are. Bravo OP. Suitable Park 184. NTA for attending. But I think all of your friends sound like pretentious AAHs. A dress code for a housewarming? And being rude and ignoring someone's partner because they're not smart enough or interesting enough? Ms. Morningstar. Having an excuse to dress up is fun, plus they're theater kids, so it just amplifies that. I doubt anyone would have commented on her outfit if she hadn't tried to throw shade at OP. She made herself look bad. OOP in response to a downvoted comment that claimed she hadn't gotten over her ex. Wow. Because having empathy, if a person, no matter how they act, is being treated poorly, means that I have not moved on. Caring about how others are being treated doesn't always come with ulterior motives, and my being mad at my ex for being a shit human being towards his fiancée has nothing to do with my non-existent feelings for him, but everything to do with being uncomfortable with another woman being insulted in front of you. Story 5. AITA for child locking my aunt and then leaving her at a gas station. Original post May 24th, 2020. My 16F aunt, 33F, lives with my family. She has me drive her around and refuses to sit in the front passenger seat because she wants to act like it's a taxi chauffeur situation, which is shitty of her. But I haven't said anything. The other day we were driving through a restaurant drive-through, and it was packed. The parking lot was full. My aunt got out of the car while we were in the drive-through, and I asked what the fuck she was doing. She told me she was getting claustrophobic, and I told her to stay in the car so she doesn't get hit by another car. My reasoning for saying this is she wanted to walk close to the actual road to smoke where traffic's busy. You know, normal road. She ignored me and got out anyway, so when I pulled up to the drive-through window, I got out and put child lock on the back doors. I did this because my aunt has done this several times before, has almost gotten hit when she does it, and once had her foot run over by a car because she does it. Which, BTW, she blamed on me even though another car ran over her foot. I got our food, my aunt gets back in, we get on the main road, it's a traffic jam. My aunt tries getting out of the car again and finds that she's child-locked. She starts screaming and cussing at me, calling me a little motherfucker and screaming at me to let her out. So when we could pull over again, I pulled over, let her out, and told her she could call someone else for a ride home. I left her at a gas station. I got home and my parents asked where my aunt was. I explained what happened, my mom told me I was in the right, and my dad flipped his shit. He told me to go out and pick her back up, and I told him to pick her up himself, because I'm done driving her around because she acts like a toddler. He decided it was appropriate to call me a spoiled bitch before leaving to pick her up. AITA for child locking my aunt and then leaving her at a gas station. Info, the traffic jam I mentioned. One lane stopped while the one right next to it kept moving. People were actively moving and getting into the lane that wasn't stopped. Also, no, my aunt doesn't have a mental disability. She's just been spoiled by her parents and my dad. And yes, she is my dad's sister. Also, my dad made a deal with me to get the car. I saved up $2,000 as a down payment for the car, and he'd make monthly payments of $200 to the guy we bought the car from. Or so he tells me. At this point in time, I have paid more for the car than he has, as I've only had it for 4 months. And yes, I work, or rather worked. I got laid off back when everything shut down. Second edit for info. I didn't leave her stranded. She had her phone, and if she chose not to call someone, that's on her. Also, you know how some people go really fast in a residential neighborhood? Apply that to the restaurant's parking lot. People get really mad fast in Chick-fil-A parking lots for some reason. Also again, I'm in America. We get our licenses at 16 and I'm almost 17. And yes, I pay for my own gas to drive dear auntie around. My dad, the one who called me a spoiled bitch, raised me not to expect anything to just be handed to me. If I were out of gas on a back road, he would leave me there and tell me to figure it out. This is from experience. Verdict, not the asshole. Relevant comment. Downvoted commenter. YTAWTF is wrong with you? If you are fine driving off without her, what was the fucking point of locking her in? OP. I locked her in because I didn't think she'd start screeching like a banshee on a main road, and I didn't want to get pulled over by a cop with her screaming in the back seat. Seems like a pretty bad situation to try and explain to a police officer. I have no affiliation. Please tell me you got your way, OP, and your punk-ass dad didn't ruin your life for standing up to his deranged sister and his tyrant ass. He took the car keys from me and told me I'm not getting them back for a while, though I don't know if that counts as ruining my life. Message him. Wait, why doesn't she drive herself? OP. She doesn't have a license and refuses to get one. Top comment. No heart nussle. NTA. Who gets out of the car in the middle of a traffic jam? Don't drive her anymore. If she wants a chauffeur, she can hire one. So, update, I guess? June 24th, 2021, 1 year later. This is way overdue, I think, and I'm not sure if anyone will see it, but I do want to kind of talk about what happened. So, not long after the original post, my mom and dad split. Mom took me, Dad stayed in the house with my aunt. Mom and I moved halfway across the country, and we have an apartment now. Mom and Dad are in the process of getting divorced, and it's surprisingly civil. He also put my car in Mom's name, and I have it again. Found out something. My aunt was apparently diagnosed as a narcissist, though I'm not sure if that counts as a mental disorder. More about my aunt and my dad. Looking back, their relationship was really fucking creepy while Mom and I were living there. I don't want to say it was incestual, but it definitely wasn't a normal sibling relationship. Also, and kinda worse, my aunt got caught stalking my mom and I before we moved to where we are now, and she even threatened to kill my mom several times over the phone and through mail. Aunt was doing it pretty frequently a while back, but now she's only doing it semi-frequently. I think my mom's trying to get a restraining order against my aunt. It's a little difficult right now, but Mom and I are doing okay. She's going to put me into therapy soon because I've been taking a lot of this really hard. Mom thinks I have anxiety, and she just wants to make sure I'm really okay. Story 6. AITA for calling out my boyfriend's family for changing the sleeping arrangement rules to favor his brother and seal. New update. Original post. November 26th, 2024. I, 24F, and my boyfriend Nathan, 26M, have been together for 6 years. This year, we traveled to his parents' house for Thanksgiving. For context, Nathan is one of 4 brothers: Alex, single; Jack, married to Jill; Nathan, me; and Luke, married to Millie with a nearly 2-year-old. Everyone lives out of state except Luke and Millie. Nathan and I have the longest drive at 9 HRS. Here's the issue. Nathan's parents, Mary and John, have only 2 guest bedrooms. 3 couples tend to visit at a time, meaning someone has to sleep on an air mattress in between the rooms. The first year I visited, I was told they'd rotate who gets the air mattress to keep it fair. But after 3 years on it, we were told it was now first come, first serve. Nathan's job doesn't allow much holiday time, so we're almost always last to arrive and stuck on the air mattress. While annoying, we understood. It seemed logical. This year was different. Nathan and I got Monday through Thursday off and would arrive first. I talked to Mary about how we were to finally get a bedroom, and she laughed, saying, "Yep, first come, first serve." Millie, who I've grown close to, knew we were thrilled about the prospect of getting a bed this year. She even decided to come early too so we could hang out, and we planned I'd take the twin room, and she'd take the queen. Here's where it gets frustrating. The day we left, I texted Mary, our ETA. A few hours later, Millie texted me saying Luke had spoken with Mary, who mentioned Jack and Jill would get the queen room and Luke and Millie the twin room, leaving Nathan and me on the air mattress again. Luke called Mary out, reminding her of the first-come, first-serve rule, but she suddenly claimed she never said that and justified her decision because Jack and Jill would be staying an extra day. For context, Jack and Jill were arriving a day later than us, so this reasoning felt like an excuse. When we arrived, Nathan brought up the rule again, but Mary got defensive, claimed she didn't remember ever saying it, and refused to budge. I said several sarcastic comments as I felt this was really unfair. I pointed out rules are rules until they didn't serve Jill, and that we always do it a certain way, until that means Jill has to take the air mattress and she could come up with any justification, but that doesn't make it fair. I even pointed out it's silly for us to now have to board out dogs, and drive 8 HRS before anyone else got here just to change the rules now. She had plenty of time to bring this up with our many conversations leading up to this. She became increasingly sassy about the situation, leaving us feeling defeated and, frankly, a little targeted. AITA for speaking up over thinking Mary unfairly changed the rules to suit Jack and Jill, and that we're always stuck with the short end of the stick. Verdict, not the asshole. Relevant comment. OOP on Jack and Jill's position on the sleeping arrangements and why they don't want the air mattress. OP. I didn't have enough room and ran out of character to address this. It is what everyone has said in the family, not that I've heard it directly from them, to be fair, that they won't come again at all if they have to take a turn on the air mattress. But that's speculation, and they no longer show up for Christmas at all, after the year all the brothers showed up. Commenter 1, I'm confused by this, but Luke and Millie should always get a room with their child. Alex, who's single, can sleep on a couch or wherever. The other bedroom should switch off every year between the two couples. P, I definitely agree with the statement about Luke and Millie, especially as he gets older. However, Luke and Millie made their own decision about their child having a sleepover with his grandma. Mary wants that as well to give them time to hang out with the brothers at night, as well as the baby spending a few nights with Millie's mom who lives 30 mins away. To address the questions about Alex, I ran out of room so this wasn't mentioned. He is not here and usually doesn't attend Thanksgiving. OOP shouldn't be complaining about the sleeping arrangements because Nathan and she are not married yet, but the other brothers, except for Alex, are married. OOP, I've heard a lot of this, and honestly, a fair assessment. However, since I have been with him for 6 years and lived with him for 5 years, any time they ask us to visit and no one else is there, they've had no issue with us sleeping in the same room. In fact, at one point when this was going on, none of the brothers were married, and we were all girlfriends. And we were on the air mattress, as the rule was first come, first serve, and we were there last. We plan on getting married. However, he's had college, then military training, then his big promotion in which we moved so far away on very short notice. That is where our money has gone, and we are working on saving up for a wedding, and he wants to get me a nice ring. So I truly don't think our lack of marriage factors into this, despite that being one of the excuses used when pressed about her lying to us. Commenter 2, NTA, and honestly, I'd just leave if it were me. Every time you guys dance their dance, they think it's okay. I'd go home to my nice bed, get the dogs, order a half-baked pizza tomorrow, and cook it up on Thursday. They are being rude, and if this is their status quo for the foreseeable future, you want none of it. Update. December 1st, 2024, 5 days later. I feel like I may have let y'all down on this one based on the advice, but here's how things went. Later Monday night, Nathan spoke to his mom, and we did get the bed for the one night before Jack and Jill arrived. Initially, it was only offered for us to move the air mattress into the queen bedroom for the night, but Nathan pointed out that we were being made to sleep on an air mattress when a bed was readily available. The next morning, Nathan had to run errands where we used to live before we moved. While he was gone, I washed the sheets and remade the bed, even though Luke and Millie told me I didn't have to wash them, just remake the bed. While everyone in the family is very clean, Mary always insists on washing the sheets between visitors, so I did it out of respect for her preferences. Millie and Luke even offered for us to take their bed, but honestly, it wasn't just about the bed. It was about the promises that were made and then retracted, despite these rules being in place for years. It was also about the gaslighting and the fact that Mary didn't tell us ahead of time, even though there were so many chances to do so. As close friends to Luke and Millie, I didn't want to put them in the position of being uncomfortable on the air mattress either. While I've never had a child myself, I know your body isn't the same afterward, especially your back. We ultimately agreed to move the air mattress into Luke and Millie's room since they had a heater, and it gave us a little bit of privacy. We tried to make the most of the holidays and enjoy our time there despite everything. Later, Mary mentioned plans to get 2 pull-out couches, one for the area between the rooms and one for the twin bedroom. While this was thoughtful, it still didn't address the issue of changing the rules to suit others. Mary has already stated that we'll have a bedroom for Christmas, but if this promise is broken again, we won't stay at their house in the future. Nathan and I have decided that if we don't get a bed for Christmas, we'll stay in a hotel. We're still planning to go because it's Luke and Millie's son's birthday. For Thanksgiving next year, if there isn't enough room, we're staying home. However, Nathan and I are currently planning on getting a house, and Luke and Millie suggested that once we do, we could host Thanksgiving there. They said they'd love to attend, which is exciting because Millie and I are both avid bakers and love cooking. Whenever Millie and I bring dishes to these gatherings, they're barely touched, except by us and our partners. We're also planning to visit Luke and Millie more often. They are considering moving closer to the parents, and when they host holidays in the future, we'll always have a guaranteed space at their home. To address popular questions for info on the last post, Alex. He doesn't come for Thanksgiving. He only saves his days off for Christmas. Also, he has rarely gotten put on an air mattress. Only once that I remember, and that was Luke and Millie's wedding. When all four bros used to come for holidays, it was Alex in the twin, editor's note, twin bedroom, Luke, pre-marriage or girlfriend, on the air mattress in that room, Nathan and I in between rooms, and Jack and Jill in the queen. Hotel. This house is in the middle of nowhere. Closest decent hotel is around 45, 1 hour. The main draw of visiting is everyone, except parents, stay up late all evening playing board games, D&D and drinking. We used to do a drunk gingerbread making contest. As for the distance to a hotel, that would mean missing out on hanging out, and there are no Ubers here. Also, before we moved this year, we didn't stay as many days and didn't mind staying on the air mattress 1, 2, 3 days due to what seemed fair to us. We also were the second closest CPL and just didn't get as much time off, which always made us last. Also, we didn't get a hotel this time after the incident due to saving up for a house/wedding. We didn't have spare cash floating around. Honestly, y'all know this economy and unexpected expenses. Millie and Luke. The live within the state, barely. It's not feasible for them to stay home or us stay with them. Also, staying with Millie's parents isn't an option. They don't get along and interact due to their child. As Millie believes her child deserves a relationship with his grandma, even if she doesn't have a great relationship with her mom. Also, there is no room. Mary. This was completely out of character for Mary. In fact, the only person everyone in the house has an issue with is John. Mary is the one who wants all of their sons home for the holidays and goes out of her way to make sure we'll all attend, usually. Luke does believe the change was due to his dad, and their mom was made the messenger. Because the mom is usually a big person on fairness, and mostly have had no issues, other than ones John push her into. This was also backed up by John's reaction to hearing we stayed in the room for one night. Before this interaction, Mary is one of 4 people that I've stated I'd take a bullet for, due to her normal kindness. Jack and Jill. Most in the house has had an issue with them. Previous holidays they have thrown a fit due to us voting on where to eat, and none of us wanted to go where they chose. So they refused to eat with us. Jill is the main issue of this, and similar things happen every time. This year, Millie asked if we could play the board game in their room one night as she was on the phone with her sister playing an online game, and we didn't have much room due to the air mattress. Jill stated she wasn't willing to, and either it was in our room or they weren't playing. They are also the reason we have to board the dogs. Their dog is aggressive, and with a small child, it's not safe. However, if they aren't attending, we are allowed to bring our dogs. Chronic illness. Pregnancy. For all the comments about pregnancy, Jill is not pregnant. About health reason, Millie has some chronic illness they are still trying to figure out. Jill used to be on the overweight side but has lost a significant amount in 3 years. I have insomnia. Both Millie and I have bipolar disorder and endometriosis. This is inconvenient due to my period usually hitting during the holidays. Relevant comment? OOP on what happens if Nathan and she are married and having a baby. Are they expected to take the air mattress again if Mary asks them to come and visit? OP, we are only going this Christmas for Millie and Luke's kid. It is his birthday as well, and we don't want to miss it. Nathan finally agreed the hotel was the best plan before he went to bed. If we have a kid, we aren't going anywhere. We've agreed on that part years ago. Honestly, wouldn't trust John around my kid. Honestly, Mary will be upset as she wants them all home. I really appreciate it. OP on her father-in-law, John's whereabouts, and his thoughts on who gets to sleep were in the house. OOP. Honestly not sure why he would favor Jack and Jill TBH because he usually has the worst to say about them. We believe it's because the ultimatum they've given about the bed. I just think John has too many red flags. He hasn't been nice to any of the wives, girlfriends, and usually makes inappropriate comments when we're alone. Luke believes it's something his dad would do, and that his mom was acting really out of character, which I saw as well. And I believe because when he saw me doing laundry and asked why, I told him we slept in the bedroom. He did this face we all make fun of, and proceeded to turn and walk away and slammed his bedroom door. We all collectively just avoid John, including his sons, due to his disrespectful behavior. He's asked me if I wanted to lick his plate before, as well as make comments about my boobs. Both times Mary has jumped in and told him to stop. He was also really weird when Millie was pregnant, touching her feet a lot and taking tons of photos as she was actively in birth. When they next visited, he was streaming the photos to the TV for the family to see. We weren't there. Just last year, he made a Facebook post stating this morning I'm thankful for God's many blessings. Mary and Kit are asleep in the playpen in the living room. I have 3 sons and 2 daughter-in-laws asleep upstairs. We are safe, warm, and happy. Thank you, Lord. Edited to remove names. But LOL, I was there too. He went out of his way to ask me if I saw his post. So that's why after the situation occurred, we figured out it was probably John. OOP responds on the Christmas plans when the family gets together again and telling Mary about the plans. OP. She's gonna know when we get a hotel for Christmas. When she asks, we'll tell her why. And it'll drive home the point when we're not there for Thanksgiving. The sad part is my boyfriend plans on proposing around Christmas, and they'll definitely miss it, LOL. I'm gonna suggest doing it when we're out for dinner. New update. Update #2 in comments. December 25th, 2024, 3.5 weeks later. Update. The update is, we broke up 2 weeks before Christmas. After coming back from the holidays, we had a fight. Initially, we decided to work things out, and for a while things seemed to be improving. He even told me he wanted to propose at Christmas, and together we picked out a ring online. But just before checking out, he sighed and said he wasn't sure about us and wanted to end things. I'll admit it was heartbreaking at the time, but honestly it was also freeing. Looking back, I think I'd been holding on for too long to a relationship where I was giving up so much of myself just to make it work. Meanwhile, I was the only one working on us. A lot of the comments on my previous post called me a doormat, and while it stung, they weren't wrong. I'd been bending over backward for him and his family for years, and this breakup was the wake-up call I needed. After everything, I moved back to Tennessee to stay with friends. And yes, I know it's quick, but I've already met someone new, a guy I really like. Some people might say it's too soon, but I think I checked out of my last relationship long before it ended. While I'm not completely healed from the damage my ex caused, I feel like I'm finally rediscovering myself and what I deserve in a relationship. This Christmas was surprisingly joyful. I spent Christmas Eve with my friends, my new boyfriend, and even got to meet his mom. On Christmas Day, he came with me to meet my family, and it was one of the best holidays I've had in years. Come on! Commenter. Just read the whole saga super happy you got out of a relationship you weren't happy in with a family that clearly had some dysfunctional issues. But, girl, come on. You're going to go from not being able to stand up for yourself and bending over backwards for a family you're almost fiancé, and were picking out rings when you say you were already checked out of the relationship, into another relationship? Why are you so scared of being alone? Get some therapy and date yourself. This is the exact situation so many women end up in AB*civ relationships. Left one relationship they were a doormat in, moved and uprooted their lives, then bam, here's this once-in-a-lifetime love bomber who they throw themselves into, instead of dealing with all the shit that got them into where they were at the end of their last relationship. Love yourself instead. Everyone is saying it's too soon because it is. With your clear personality type flaws, this is going to be another few years of absolute disaster. OP. I've wasted 6 years on this relationship and I deserve a chance to be happy in one, when I choose to be in one. I've regularly been in therapy for 3 years. I'm aware of issues I have and have consistently worked and improved on them. I know exactly what got me in that situation, and we've been on the rocks for 1.5 years. Things became rocky due to me standing up for myself and enforcing boundaries. It was my fault for believing he'd change after he would for a short period of time, which kept me in this cycle. Some things weren't clear to me due to my distance from friends and family, and being stuck in this cycle. It took the cycle ending to truly appreciate how much I had been through unfairly. I do love myself, either in a relationship or not. While often too kind and forgiving a person, I would rather accept that and its consequences, sometimes instead of being jaded. I enjoy the type of person I am. I am taking it slow with this guy. I do really like him, though. He knows what I've been through, and I know his history. I don't believe in rebounds and will only date if I can see a possible future with someone. I did not latch on to the first person who showed any interest. He is giving me space to work through any lingering issues, while we both also want to spend time together. He has gone through something quite similar over a year ago, so he understood what I was going through. And I don't hold back on my stance or feelings on anything around him, because if I scare him off, it wasn't meant to be. I also have a support system this time around to warn me of any red flags or issues I may be overlooking and are willing to step in and speak to me about it. We also have the same goals / outlook on life and want the same things in the future. Your points are valid, and I can see where you are coming from. However, despite me trying to put a good amount of info in a text post, it'll never fully answer enough questions to see the full picture of things. I felt ready to move on quicker than most, but every person and situation is different. Everyone moves on at a different pace. I hope this situation ends well, but no one can ever guarantee that it's a chance I'm willing to take. My ex and I had a perfect relationship for 2.5 years. I'm not going to hold myself back and fear everything for the chance it may happen again. Story 7. AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her dog to my house after what happened last time? Original post, December 25, 2024. So here's the deal. I, 30F, host family gatherings at my house because I have the most space and honestly I love it. Last year, my sister, 28F, insisted on bringing her dog, a large, hyperactive golden retriever, to Christmas dinner. I wasn't thrilled about it because I don't have pets and I like keeping my house clean and fur-free. But I thought, okay, it's the holidays, let's be nice. Fast forward to Christmas Day, and this dog goes absolutely berserk. It knocked over the Christmas tree, chewed up one of the gifts, a handmade scarf from my mom that took her weeks to knit, and somehow managed to jump up on the counter and eat half of the appetizers before we even sat down for dinner. I spent most of the day cleaning up after the dog and barely got to enjoy the holiday. My sister's response? He's just excited. It's Christmas after all. This year, I told her no dogs. I was polite but firm, saying we'd love to have her, but the dog needs to stay home. She got super upset, saying her dog is part of the family, and it's unfair to exclude him. Now she's threatening not to come at all, and my mom is pressuring me to let the dog come so the family can be together. I told them both that I'm not changing my mind. Now I'm being called selfish and not understanding. My sister is acting like I'm banning her child or something, and I'm starting to second-guess myself. Am I the asshole for putting my foot down? AITA has no consensus bot. OP was NTA. Top comments. Commenter 1. Okay, don't come. Call her bluff. This is your house. NTA. Commenter 2. Absolutely, call her bluff. And tell mom she's pressuring the wrong person. Commenter 3. NTA, your house, your rules. Also, dogs don't misbehave because they are excited about Christmas. Dogs don't know what Christmas is. Dogs misbehave because they haven't been raised well. If your sister doesn't scold the dog and teach him how he should behave, they should both stay home. Update, December 27th, 2024, 2 days later. First off, thank you to everyone who offered advice and support on my original post. I was feeling a lot of pressure and was starting to second-guess myself, but I really appreciated reading all your comments. To clarify a few things before I get into the update, I don't hate dogs. I grew up with pets, but since moving into my own place, I've chosen not to have any. I also have some health concerns, allergies, which make it more difficult for me to handle dogs in an indoor environment. I love my sister, but the last time her dog was at my house, it caused major stress. Now, for the update. After my original post, I had a long conversation with my sister and mom. My sister kept saying that I was being unfair by not allowing her dog to be part of the family celebrations. She compared it to me banning her child, which I told her was a pretty extreme comparison, considering her dog is over 80 pounds, rambunctious, and wasn't exactly well behaved at my house last year. To be honest, things got a bit heated during our conversation. I tried to explain that it wasn't about her dog, it was about having a peaceful, enjoyable family gathering. My house isn't pet-proof, and I didn't want to spend the entire evening cleaning up after the dog or worrying about my guests' safety. The dog knocked over a glass of wine last year, too. But she kept saying that I was being too controlling and that I didn't care about her happiness. At this point, my mom started to get involved. She's been trying to play the family unity card, saying that my sister's dog is like a family member and that we should make exceptions to ensure everyone is happy. I held my ground, and it felt like I was in the middle of a tug of war. The next day, my sister texted me saying she would come if I made the choice to accept the dog as part of the family. Otherwise, she said, she'd just skip Christmas dinner altogether. My mom called me in tears, saying I was making the holiday divisive and that I was being difficult. Honestly, at that point I started feeling like maybe I was being unreasonable, but I stuck to my decision. So here's what happened. My sister showed up without the dog, but she was very upset about it. She barely interacted with anyone at first and spent a lot of time on her phone. It was super awkward. By the end of the night, things had calmed down a little, and we were able to enjoy dinner. But I still feel like the tension is lingering, and I'm honestly wondering if I made the right choice. Some of the comments I received, especially about setting boundaries and considering my own well-being, made me feel better about my decision. But now that it's all over, I can't help but feel guilty for causing this rift. My sister has barely spoken to me since, and my mom is still upset. So for the final question, did I make the right choice? Was I being unreasonable, or was I just standing up for myself? Thanks again to everyone for your advice. Top comments. Commenter 1. NTA. You don't want a rambunctious, ill-behaved dog in your house. If your sister wants to bring her dog to get-togethers, then she can host them at her house. Commenter 2. You have a very reasonable boundary. Your sister is being ridiculous. Good for you, OP, for standing strong. And your sister, in the end, managed the evening just fine, no? Other than the sulking. Please do not erase all of your hard emotional work and backslide because you want to people please. Your consideration is not going to be appreciated, and it would mean that any future boundary will be tantrumed over even harder. Continued NTA. Commenter 3. NTA. So your sister threw a tantrum because you refused to allow her giant, poorly behaved pet to run rampant in your house on another holiday and manipulated your mom into getting mad too, and you feel guilty. Story 8. AITA for waiting to divorce my wife until it was a good time for me? Original post, September 9th, 2024. My ex-wife and I were married for over 20 years and have 2 children together, 22M and 20F. For most of my marriage, things were pretty balanced. We both shared housework and childcare responsibilities. We were each stay-at-home parents for over a year after each child, her with our son and me with our son and daughter. We always had agreements on how we wanted to divide work and generally had decent communication. This changed when my oldest went to high school. My wife got a new job that was both very demanding on her time and was 50% travel. This meant that I had to handle everything about 2 weeks per month, and when she was home, she wasn't holding up her side of the work with agreements. I did my best to be accommodating, and we worked through redistributing chores, housework a few times to make it fit her schedule better, but a lot of the work just kept falling to me. When the pandemic happened, things got worse, but I tried to just suck it up because I knew the lockdowns were temporary. Finally, when things opened back up, things continued to decline, and I asked to go to counseling. She missed a lot of our meetings and just didn't commit to it. At this point, I decided that I wanted a divorce. Unfortunately, it was a really tough time for the family. My son was getting ready for college in person after his freshman year being remote, which was both financial and logistical challenge. At the same time, my daughter was also having some issues with depression, and I had become her main support person with my wife gone half the time. I made a decision to wait until my daughter was in a better mental state and our family was in a financially stable place before I filed for divorce. I did my best to continue to contribute and was essentially a single parent for 3 years. On a few occasions I brought up counseling again, but my wife said things were good and wouldn't go. We pretty much didn't have sex for that period of time, and there was one summer where she essentially moved to North Carolina for 6 weeks for work. She came home on some weekends. Last year, after my daughter started sophomore year of college and she was in a better place mentally and emotionally, I sold off some of my stock investments to create a trust for my kids to ensure college was covered. Then I filed for divorce. At first my wife was really pissed, then she left to live in North Carolina again. When she came back 4 weeks later, she said she wanted to work through it, but I told her I had made the decision to leave years ago and wasn't interested. We eventually worked through mediation and got an amicable divorce. My kids live with me now and support me, but all of my in-laws and even most of my family outside of my sister think I'm asshole. They believe I should have forced the issue more when we started counseling, and either divorced or made it clearer to my wife how important counseling was to me. They've called me selfish, and some of my in-laws are refusing to interact with my kids when they're at my house. For example, my daughter FaceTimed her grandmother once this summer, and she hung up once she saw that my daughter was at my house. They also created a bit of a scene at my son's graduation in the spring, refusing to acknowledging me and demanding that my son choose to celebrate with them or me rather than having dinner together as a group. I encouraged my son to go with them, and we had our own celebration later, but something happened at the dinner, and my son has lived with me and been almost no contact with them since. I honestly feel like I did what was best for my kids, but it feels like their mom's family is punishing them, and I feel like a terrible father. I admit that it might have been more mature to address the issue head-on with my relationship with my ex, but I felt that it was about more than just the two of us. Frankly, I feel like my lack of backbone years ago has made this divorce worse for my kids, but I also believe that if I had to do it again, I would still prioritize my kids over my own feelings and make the same choice. AITA, edit. Holy crap, this blew up. First off, thanks for folks who provided feedback and comments. I really felt like shit, and both the positive and negative comments helped me get a little perspective on things. I've seen a few comments come up multiple times, so I figure it's worth answering them here before I move on. This is an account I created to ask an embarrassing dating question earlier this year. I created it because my main username is recognizable, and I reused it now because I don't really want to air my issues associated with a known username. When my wife took the job, we were doing well financially, but the job still came with a big raise. I was making about $200K, and the job she took gave her a raise from about $80K to $140K. That was enough that we could go from saving enough to have an emergency fund to having enough to pay for our kids' college outright. We both work in tech, but she works for a defense contractor, and some of the work needs to be done on site, and only one of the offices related to her work is near where we live. When we originally discussed the job, her plan was to work in the high travel role for some time, then try to transfer to a lower travel role based near us. She got promoted a few times, and staying near our home wasn't an option unless she took a bit pay and title cut. When we divorced, I was making about $280K, and she made a little over $300K. Some folks were also confused by my stock comment. I'm a software engineer for a big tech company, and about 20 to 30% of my salary comes in the form of RSUs, restricted stock units. I'm not an investor by any means, and I was just selling off stock mostly to cover my daughter's college and pay off what debt my son had. I know a lot of people are jumping right to an affair, but I really doubt it. In school, my wife and I were the obnoxious kids who reminded the teacher about homework, and she's a massive introvert. Her working late in a hotel room is much more likely than her sleeping around or keeping some secret family. There's a chance I'm wrong here, but I think this is more a situation where Reddit sometimes thinks all divorces end with infidelity. When I say we had an amicable divorce, I mean that more in the legal sense than the emotional sense. Uncontested might be a better term. The only significant asset we had that wasn't easily split was our home. My wife loves the house, and I frankly wanted something different, so she bought out my portion of it. Our kids are adults, so there's no custody. Our assets are mostly divisible, so no issues there. Our salaries were comparable, so there was no alimony. We each had a car. Overall, it was pretty straightforward to divide things evenly, and neither of us wanted to draw things out. We didn't end the marriage as friends by any means, but from a legal standpoint it was amicable because we decided on arrangement with a mediator and only involved lawyers briefly to actually draft the final paperwork for the judge to sign off on. Additional information from OOP on some other questions. OOP: why did your wife disappear off to a travel job? Was fund money separate and based on income? My wife has never wanted to be a homemaker traditional kind of wife and always placed a lot of value on her career. It's part of the reason I married her. That being said, I never expected her to take a job that had so much travel, and I still don't completely understand why she did it. I think part of it was that she knew things were tough at home and this was an escape. I also know she had mostly younger co-workers, and there was some amount of feeling like a jet-setter. Sorry, I can't think of a more current term. Why did you have chore arrangements like you were roommates that were expected to be adhered to even when she got the travel job? I'm not sure exactly what you mean here. I think most relationships include establishing who's responsible for certain chores, work around the house. Also, I obviously didn't expect her to do housework while she was away, but as I said, she didn't really help out when she was back. I didn't expect her to do all the work when she was back or anything, just her fair share when she was home. Why did you have a deleted post from Low Karma about crazy dating misadventures only recently? Because I started dating after the divorce, and being in my 40s trying to figure out dating hasn't gone well. I've addressed this in other comments, but that post was actually the reason I made this throwaway account, and I deleted it when I realized I was really out of touch with current dating norms. What is the reason your side of the family is giving you for being pissed at you as well? My family believes the only reason for divorce is infidelity or abuse. They are pretty conservative, traditional. How did you phrase your request for counseling? Initially, it was pretty soft. I mentioned it a few times, but didn't really push. Around 2021, I told her that I felt that our marriage was falling apart, and I told her that I thought the only way to move forward was counseling. She agreed, and we started, but as I said in my post, she didn't commit to it. We had Zoom sessions when she was traveling, and she often wouldn't show up. AITA has no consensus bot. OOP was NTA. Relevant. Comment? Commenter 1, NTA. But really, only your kids can answer this question for you. Maybe just point blank ask them, do you think I was wrong to wait till you guys were settled and I was ready, or was it the wrong decision for you? It sounds like you did everything you could, and your kids will never forget. It's all done now, forget about it and live life happy, it's what it was all for. OOP. I have checked with the kids, and they agree with my decision now, but I also didn't really ask them until after the incident at my son's graduation. That's kind of why I'm doubting things. I waited until my in-laws were jerks before I asked my kids about it, but I can also see how my decisions have at least some impact on my in-laws' behavior. Frankly, it's a mess, and I should probably be seeing a therapist rather than talking to Reddit. But sometimes talking to strangers on the internet feels safer. Commented 2, NTA. So, is your ex-wife okay with everybody treating her kids like that? Is she treating them poorly as well? And that you should let her know that counseling was so important to you. No, you shouldn't. No one asks for counseling just because they're bored. And when you asked for divorce, her first reaction was to go to North Carolina again, where probably she asked her affair if they can be a public couple now. He may have answered no, and then she came with, let's work this out. The truth is, if the papers were reversed, no one would be blaming her for wanting a divorce. Don't blame yourself. Everyone, including your kids, are adults now. Ask your kids if they want to do therapy, if they didn't already do, and keep your distance from this people. They are not your family if they are willing to understand you. OOP. My ex-wife really doesn't talk to me much, but when I brought up the FaceTime thing, her response was essentially, "I don't control my mother." My ex isn't treating my kids poorly, but she also continues to prioritize work over the kids. My daughter is in therapy for her depression, and I've offered to pay for my son to go if he wants to go. Update, December 27th, 2024, 3.5 months later. I'm still getting comments and messages from time to time about that post, so I figured I would take some time to give an update. Quick summary of the original post. My wife became more and more distant in our marriage, and I decided to get a divorce. But I waited about 3 years to do it after I decided because I felt it was best for the kids. My kids chose to live with me and generally were on my side, but my in-laws and family were pretty mad at me. Things are going much better overall since the post. I got a lot of support, but also a lot of criticism which I took to heart. I have been putting in some work to mend fences and help get things to a more reasonable state. I don't expect my ex or her family to be friends with me, but I at least want to be on good terms. My relationship with my parents and family is much better, and this Christmas was pretty much back to normal. My family is very conservative, especially when it comes to marriage, but they finally understand how bad it had become and have reluctantly accepted. My relationship with my ex, and more importantly, her relationship with our kids, has also improved. She has apparently been going to therapy on her own, and while she hasn't gone into details, she does seem to be a lot less angry about what happened. We decided to have Thanksgiving together so we could all talk through things with the kids. It was a bit messy and there were a lot of tears, but we also got to a place where we all understand each other a bit more. We all agree that I shouldn't have waited so long to go through with the divorce, but my ex and kids also say they understand why I did it. My ex-wife and I even had a conversation about dating, which was weird but surprisingly kind of nice. My ex-in-laws still think I'm a horrible person, and most refuse to talk to me. But they have started treating my kids well. My kids went to the in-laws' place for Christmas Eve and told me went okay. We talked about it on Christmas, and while they didn't give many details, they did say they planned to do something on New Year's Eve with my ex and the in-laws, so I'm happy about that. Sorry, this isn't a juicy update with anything crazy, but I was bored during the holiday downtime and thought I would log in and post some details. One thing I've learned from this, and I hope others learn too, even if your heart's in the right place, it's probably better to divorce when the marriage is over rather than putting up a facade for years. I don't regret getting a divorce, but I do wish I hadn't waited 3 years when I knew it was over. Top comments. Commenter 1. You shouldn't be bothered by what your ex-IL think about you. People who blame children, even almost adults, for the things their father did are not very good at judging people. They are even the real AH here. Commenter 2. When it's over, it's over. Dragging it out only accumulates damage to someone, yourself, the kids, etc. Glad things are working out for you and appreciate you sharing your experience and conclusions. Commenter 3. I don't understand anyone saying you did the wrong thing. Ending a marriage with children involved isn't just about ending the marriage. It affects the entire family. Waiting to make sure your daughter's mental health was in a place where it could sustain the divorce wasn't selfish. It was the exact opposite. If you had divorced when you decided you wanted to, and your daughter's mental health had plummeted, then what? The only person inconvenienced was the woman who neglected her marriage and her children, and she'd been inconveniencing you and the kids by abandoning them for years. Please stop feeling any sense of guilt for waiting. You're the only one who did the right thing. Stop apologizing for that. Story 9. AITA for telling my wife to go NC with her family after they invited her abusive ex on her birthday. Original post, December 27th, 2024. I am 25 and my wife is 27. Actually, she isn't my wife yet. We will get married in May, so I will call her my wife because we both already consider each other as husband and wife, even though we aren't officially yet. I have been dating my wife since past 2 years, and my wife is kinda emotionally fragile. She is traumatized a bit. She told me early on that her ex has been verbally abusive and was rough on her. Even when we were dating, she was hesitant, and during sex, she would ask me to go slow. We are comfortable now, but on her birthday, which was 24 days ago, my soon-to-be Mill and Bill invited her ex on her birthday, And in my home, I was pissed 'cause I knew what he did to my wife. My wife immediately grabbed my hand when she saw him, and she was scared. I asked him to get out, and my wife's family started convincing me, but I didn't listen and I kicked them all out. My wife is hurt even after almost a month, and I did my best to help her. We both decided to not invite them in our wedding and cut them off. But they are saying through texts that I am going too far and manipulating her, and they want to reconcile with my wife, and I am keeping her away from her family. I asked my wife, and she said she wants to stay away from them for now and wants to celebrate this year being officially married to me, and she hates them for inviting her ex on her birthday. Me and my wife has no problem with our decision. We are couples, we make our decisions together. But I am not feeling good about splitting my wife from her family, and they are saying that I am manipulating her and send me texts about how evil I am. I tried to tell them that I just want to do what's best for my wife, but again they repeat the same shit. AITA has no consensus bot, OP was NTA. Come on. Commenter 1. In the end, it's her decision no matter what anyone thinks or says, even if you do decide things as a couple, even if they want back in her life. You checked with her, she doesn't want to be around them, you supported her in what she chose. NTA. Commenter 2. The facts they invited through X is problematic to begin with and to your house without your permission. You did good on kicking him out and them too for not understanding how messed up, disrespectful that was. You did right by letting her decide how she wants to proceed with them and making sure no further disrespectful stuff is said/tried. Commenter 3. NTA. What possible reason would her family have for inviting an abusive ex to your party for her, even if they didn't know about the abuse? NC these people, they would probably invite him to the wedding as well. Update. December 29, 2024, 2 days later. Told her of my previous post. My wife's family invited her abusive ex on her birthday, and she already was traumatized. And she got even more traumatized after she saw her ex, so we decided to cut them off. But they kept sending me texts that we shouldn't cut them off. We aren't married yet, but consider each other as husband and wife, and my priority is deaf my woman. After we both decided to cut her family off, my soon-to-be Mill showed up at my place today, and she said that I am manipulating my wife, and she just wants to have a good relationship with her future son-in-law and her daughter. But I am being unreasonable. I asked her if she loves her daughter so much, why did they bring her abusive ex in our home? Did she expect us to just go through with it? My Mill apologized and said that ex's family as well, and they wanted to involve him, and he wanted to apologize, but I kicked them out, and she wants to be in her daughter's life and her grandchildren's life, and she will never bring her ex in front of my wife and even willing to cut him off. I asked her if she's so important. Why would you bring your daughter's abuser in her home and on her birthday? You cause so much pain to her, and she doesn't want to talk to you right now, and what man hurts a woman as sweet and kind as her? She was abused, and she is still scared, and now not only her partner betrayed her, even her family betrayed her. I asked her to leave and told her that I will talk to my wife and we will get back to her. After she left, I told my wife everything and she was shocked, but she said if her mother is sorry and promising us that X won't get involved in our life, she is okay with it. I told her that we should wait, and after what they have done, we don't know if they're manipulating us or are genuine with their intentions. My wife agreed. She's still angry and sad, but I am helping her as much as I can to uplift her mood. But I don't know if my wife should be in their life. I can't tell her what to do, but as her man, I feel like I should protect her after what they did, and we trust and communicate with each other, and we don't do something unless we both agree on it, so I am wondering what I should do. Relevant. Comment? Commenter 1. The only thing I can say is if your wife is willing, then go ahead, but take it slow. Make her parents earn her trust again, though their actions, and not just their words. But also make it clear to them that there will not be another chance if they mess this one up. I wish you both the best. OOP. Yes, I don't want her to go back to them and pretend as if everything is normal, but I also don't want to tell her what to do. It takes a lot of efforts from me to cheer her up, and I don't want to come off to her as a controlling or abusive partner. So I will let her think and agreed with her decision and do what she wants. I am her man, not her owner, to tell her what she can and can't do. I can only advise her, and I pray she makes the right choice for herself. If she wants to have a good relationship with her parents, and they stand true to their words, it's all right. but they hurt her and create problems for her and me, and I am left to help her. And even I don't have a clue why they are behaving the way they are? He is family, but my wife isn't? And why would he do something that will hurt her? She's so kind, helpful, and dedicated towards her partner. I can't do anything else but to obey her cause she's so thoughtful and tried her best to please everyone. I can't make sense of her family's and her ex behavior. Commenter 2. What I don't understand is how your MIL can consider a man who abused and mentally scarred her daughter family. If somebody did shit like that to my daughter, I don't have kids, so I am talking hypothetical, I don't know if they would ever find his body. But I sure as fuck wouldn't consider him family. Story 10. AITA for not going to my brother's wedding, September 20th, 2024. A lot of context here because it's important. I, F22, used to attend a highly conservative college where my brother, M23, met his now fiancée, F21. While I was there, a terribly situation came up there. A guy, let's call him Brandon, took advantage of me, non-consensually obviously, and someone walked in on what was happening. Instead of anyone talking to me, rumors started spiraling. Before I knew it, Brandon's whole friend group got involved and were highly concerned about us breaking the rules of this conservative college. In this group was one particular girl, call her Sarah, who is notorious for snitching to faculty and getting people in trouble because she feels too convicted. I took a large step and talked to Sarah. I confided in her what really happened and confessed how confused I was and how muddled and messed up my mentality was at the time. Mind you, this all was happening within 72 hours. I realize now I should have stepped forward and gone to faculty, told the truth, and made sure Brandon took the fall for his own actions. However, purity culture is vile and terrifying to combat on your own after hearing so many horror stories from conservative institutions like this one. Sarah sat and listened to me as I cried and poured my heart out to her, begging her to come talk to me before she decides to do anything. I told her that if she truly felt she had to go to faculty, that she would come tell me and we would go together and I would tell what happened. I just needed more time to process what had happened to me. Later that night, Sarah went behind my back to faculty and told a shimmering version of the story that was not hers to tell, in which both Brandon and I were at fault. This resulted in Brandon and I getting expelled. However, in typical purity culture fashion, Brandon was quickly invited back to school where I was left alone and drifting. No one asked me what actually happened or had me give a statement. Judgment was dispelled hastily with little to no conversation, except for Sarah's. Back to the topic of the wedding. Bear with me. My brother's fiancée and I had been roommates through all of this. I was telling her everything that was happening as it was happening. There had even been previous moments where Sarah had accused me of things my brother's fiancée had done, and I took the fall for her because I loved her. We were incredibly close. After I got expelled, she went radio silent until she and my brother began dating a few months later. Fast forward to wedding planning, and it comes to light that my brother's fiancée is not asking me to be a bridesmaid. I am my brother's only sibling. But she is asking Sarah. The idea of attending this wedding, which is a destination wedding and not ideal for a full-time college student and part-time teacher like myself, is absolutely nauseating to me. Being in the same room as Sarah is difficult enough, but to see her be viewed as someone closer to my brother and his future wife after they both know what she did to me is so offensive, it breaks my heart to pieces. I just don't know if I can go. Summary: AITA for not going to my brother's M23 wedding after his fiancée F21 asked the girl who got me wrongfully expelled from college to be a bridesmaid and not me. Edit. Yes, my brother knows the entire situation, as does his fiancée and our parents. Relevant comments. Unique Honey 3500. NTA. Don't go. It's obvious that future Sil believes Sarah's version of what happened over yours, so why would you go to the wedding? What has brother said about it all? OP. He's just concerned about his fiancée being happy on her big day, which I totally support. However, he has said nothing in support of me and has only reiterated how he wants his fiancée to be happy. Again, I agree with this. It's her wedding day. I just appreciate my perspective to be seen from his side. Butch SpongeBob. NTA, and I'm so sorry. What a horrible thing for them to do. I know you love your brother, but doing something like this warrants further examination of your relationships to both him and the fiancé. Not making you a bridesmaid while also choosing the woman who tried to ruin your life? Why have they remained close with her since this happened to you, especially if they are fully aware of what went on? Why are they not choosing you to be in the wedding party after previously telling you you would be? Not only should you not go this wedding, you should consider whether or not these are really people you should have in your life at all. I've asked myself a lot of these questions for the past couple years. I have even asked my brother, and he never has a straight answer. I'm trying to salvage what I can of our relationship, but I'm losing patience in trying without reciprocation. Butch SpongeBob. It might be worth looking into resources for people who have dealt, are dealing with traumas from religious and conservative communities. I know it must be really hard to let go. No one wants to feel like their loved ones and community aren't really capable of being there for them. Tasty Couple 3362. Honestly, you should check out Cults to Consciousness. Scary name, I know. But she just did an interview with someone who spoke about how BYU and Mormonism in general judge the women victims and foster this environment of constantly monitoring each other. Forget-me-nots not. I can't express to you how sorry I am that you went through such trauma. In no way is any of that okay. The fact that your brother is standing by and not way more upset is unsettling. Your soon-to-be sister-in-law showed who she is. Believe her. You need to get out of this toxic religious belief system. It's done nothing but harm you. It's just a wedding. It's not that big of a deal to miss. Weddings are super boring anyhow. Fuck those tool bags. Go enjoy your day and get a piece of cake or some cupcakes. You can eat more than one LOL and keep going. NTA for sure. Again, I'm so sorry you were assaulted and left to pick up the pieces by yourself. That's horribly wrong, and I really hope you are talking to a therapist about this. I can tell you that it doesn't just go away. It will affect all of your relationships as well as eat at your mind if unchecked. Be kind to yourself. You deserve to have a happy life. Read the things 13,579. And if you want a script for when brother asks why you're not coming to the wedding, try, Sarah got me kicked out of school by telling the faculty it was my fault that I got sexually assaulted. She hurt me deeply and has caused me lasting harm and has never apologized for what she has done. You and your fiancé seem to have chosen her side, and that's really hurtful. I was the one who was wronged, and Sarah decided I needed to be punished for someone else's sin. I'm not ready to be in community with her, so if she's going to be a prominent part of the wedding, I won't be able to come. I left super conservative religion, and I normally don't talk in terms of sin anymore, but since OP's family is still deep in that culture, it can help to use their own language to explain the situation. Update September 30th, 2024, 10 days later. Summary: AITA for not going to my brother's M23 wedding after his fiancée, F21, asked the girl who got me, F22, wrongfully expelled from college to be a bridesmaid and not me. Well, many have asked, so here's the most current update. My brother and I have talked. I retold him the whole story of what happened, and he says he knew all of it except for maybe a couple details involving Sarah. He took our conversation and conveyed it to his fiancée, who also already know the full story, and took to defending Sarah. She, his fiancée, also reinstated that she's choosing her closest friends to be her bridesmaids, and that's not me. Just to reiterate, I do not care about being a bridesmaid whatsoever. What is hurtful here is that my brother and future SIL just don't care about what Sarah did to me. Anyways, his fiancée then went to Sarah and somehow talked to her about it. Sarah's rebuttal was that she was concerned about Brandon's mental health and didn't mean for me to get caught in the crossfire. Keep in mind, I specifically went to Sarah and talked to her personally before she reported anything to staff asking her to include me if she chose to have any conversations. She intentionally excluded me and got me expelled. Why my future SIL didn't just call me and talk about this, I will never know. In my brother's words, no final decisions have been made, but it definitely seems like Sarah is remaining as a bridesmaid, and they are asking me to sing as a consolation prize. I'm refusing, obviously. Relevant comments. Bonham 42. I would message Sarah, your brother and future SIL. I want to get this off my chest before I go NC with all of you. Sarah, I told you I was SA. I asked you to wait for me before going to staff. I didn't even ask you to keep it a secret, just to wait until I had time to process and get my emotions straight. You went behind my back and went to the staff anyway. You reported a victim of SA and got her kicked out. Your excuse for this was because you were worried about my attacker's mental health, not mine. Sil and brother, you know what a horrible person Sarah is for doing this, and still you wish to include her in your wedding. Sarah betrayed me to get attention. She has a habit of doing that to people she deems as sinners. Speaking of which, Esiel, did you ever tell her about all the times I covered for you, to protect you from your bridesmaid? Doesn't that seem a little odd? You have to lie and use me as a cover for someone you are so close to? As for you, brother, you are my brother, my family. If anyone ever hurt you this way, I can assure you I would not include them in my big day. I would not be so spineless to let my fiancée and her holier-than-thou friend treat you this way. I hope it was worth losing your sister over. Catanamenly, I hope you realize now how misogynistic and hypocritical conservative culture is. They generally protect the rapist while alienating the victim. I'm sorry this has all happened to you. You deserve better than these garbage humans. Make sure to tell your extended family. I want everyone to know the whole truth before rumors and assumptions are made. I will not be attending my brother's wedding. The real reason I left school was because I was raped and the bride's friend knew, but instead went to the school with lies about me and protected my attacker. And I was asked to leave. My brother, being the weak man he is, decided having this woman in his wedding party was more important than his sister attending. Therefore, when you don't see me at the wedding, you will know why. Editor's note. The wedding has happened, and OOP has posted about other topics, but has not given us any final outcome of the wedding or her relationship with her brother Sil and Sarah. Therefore, I'll mark this as inconclusive. Story 11. AITA, for saying I would wear my mom's wedding dress under one condition. Original post November 11th, 2019. So this came up during dinner the other night, and I am wondering if what I had requested makes me come across as an asshole. My mom thinks so, or at least like a bridezilla. When my parents got married back in the 80s, my mom wore a big poofy white gown that was in style at the time. It's like Princess Diana's dress, but with more lace and frills. After the wedding, she had it packed up with the intention of saving it for any future daughters to use, that is me. It's 2019. We're talking about weddings at the dinner table. Boyfriend has been hinting at it for a while now, when my mom says that when the time comes, she would love to see me wear her old dress. I understand why she would want to see me in it, but I'm not keen on the idea. One of the reasons is because it's just not my taste, and the other is because when you look at the dress, you know it came from the 80s. It is what you imagine the quintessential 80s wedding dress would look like, minus the teased hairstyle and frosted lipstick. It would look anachronistic in a setting with more modern fashions and wedding styles, as if the bride accidentally walked into a time slip and came out of it into 2019. Here's how things went. Me, sure, I'll wear it. Mom, great! Me, but on one condition, that the bridal party and the groomsmen wear clothes based on 80s wedding fashion, with an 80s-themed wedding reception to follow. I'm a history teacher who loves doing research into different time periods and eras, so researching wedding trends, music, tech, and fashion from the 1980s and then recreating it would be fun. And I'm not so worried about my boyfriend and friends being opposed to the idea, because they know how much I love history and historical reenactment, not to mention some of them partake it in themselves. One used to work at Williamsburg, and boyfriend is a Civil War reenactor. My mom wasn't big on the idea. She thinks that the idea of an 80s-themed wedding is stupid, and that I sound like a bridezilla for suggesting that the wedding party go through with the idea. TLDR. AITA for saying I'd wear my mom's wedding dress from the 80s under the condition that everyone else wears 80s fashion with an 80s-themed reception to follow? Edit 11/11. Jesus Christ, this blew up. Relevant comment. Deleted. NTA, I think that's amazing, especially if you have a 16 candles-ish first dance. OP. I was thinking Dirty Dancing. I love that movie. 2 pink giraffes. NTA, it's your day, you do you. Another option is to take it to a talented seamstress to depuff the sleeves, take the bow off the ass, I'm guessing, and see what else can be done to bring the dress into this century, if that's possible. OP. There is a bow on that ass, XD, and it's a big one, too. What happened was, NTA, that's very kind of you to find a way to compromise. Your mom is TA for making this about her dream of seeing the dress worn by a daughter, but the thing is, you're offering that to her. I don't see why this period costume context is problematic either. I would hate to wear my mom's dress for that reason. Not my style. I would not be as generous as you are being. Deleted. NTA, it's entirely your day. Can't tell if you actually want to wear the dress or if you're just doing it for your ma, but you don't even have to do that. And if you do want to wear it, it's on your terms. You could throw a Nordic-themed wedding, and her opinion wouldn't matter. It's your day, girl. Don't let nobody tell you how to do it. Oh, I was hoping to do my own dress shopping, but I knew growing up that my mom would like me to wear her dress. I didn't realize she was serious. Plus, I was kind of joking about the 80s-themed wedding, but the more I'm reading the replies, the more I want to have it. Verdict, not the asshole. Update December 4th, 2019. 1 month later. Hey guys, it's that 80s bride with an update for you. Before we begin, let me just say that is crazy how my first post blew up. I never expected this response. Thank you guys so much for weighing in with your opinions. A lot has happened since I made that post nearly a month ago. To begin with, no, BF still hasn't proposed. But that's okay, I know it's going to happen. Some of my friends figured out it was me behind that post. When I mentioned the kerfuffle with my mom, one of them said, "You wouldn't happen to be the one with that one AITA post, would you?" While we aren't engaged yet, BF and I did talk about what we want our wedding to look like. While we have a couple of ideas in mind, he was on board with the 80s wedding idea and joked that if I was to wear my mom's dress, then he wanted to find a replica of his dad's tuxedo and grow his hair out into a mullet and stash. Guys, he is a keeper if ever there was one. But seriously, 80s wedding is now in our top 5 list of wedding ideas. And when we brought up the idea with the people we want in our wedding party, they were all enthusiastic for the idea. So it looks like out that 80s wedding might be a reality now. That leads me to my mom. I sat her down and we got to her dress. And some of you were right. She thought that I would just be using her dress as a prop in a tacky theme wedding, instead of treating it as her treasured possession that it is. We did get to talking about we could pull it off. I brought over some bridal magazines and pointed out how the dress would look next to the more modern bridesmaids. I actually did start doing my own research and made a Pinterest board to show her how I envisioned this new 80s wedding would look like, and not going to lie, she was pretty impressed with the amount of research I did into a time period she lived through. The Bridezilla comment came from the fact she thought I was going to dictate what everyone was going to wear. Turns out she was referring to a few more infamous cases, including the bride who wanted orange suede, Louboutin, and soda hats at her beach wedding. Again, I had to tell her I already ran that idea with the prospective bridesmaids already, and they all loved the idea. The most important update. I actually tried on the dress while over at my parents' for Thanksgiving. It actually fits. It's a bit tight in the belly, but nothing that cutting out booze and burgers for a couple of weeks can't fix. I looked a little overdone in it, but I loved it. There is no way I'm going to want to turn it into a new dress now. I want to preserve it, but this is coming from the die-hard history buff. While I may go dress shopping as well, this dress is a solid contender to be my future wedding dress. TLDR. Still no proposal, but when we do get there, we may actually be having an 80s wedding. Edit. Stupid me forgot to take pics, god dang it! Edit #2. I am really sorry, guys. This was the closest I could find to something that looked like my mom's dress. For starters, her puff sleeves and skirt were more poofy, and the latter would definitely be because it looks like she had on a petticoat underneath that day. But here is the closest I could find to the overall dress. The hem of her skit had some kind of frilly detail as well, and here is approximately what the back most resembles. The butt bow is a bit smaller than the OG, but the skirt and train has a similar trim. Again, I'm really sorry, guys. Kids, take note, always have photographic evidence because you never know when you're going to need it. Story 12. AITA for thinking about divorce? Original post, November 7th, 2023. Throwaway as my husband knows my Reddit. I, 34F, have been with Ken, not his real name, 37M, since I was 16. We met in school as he was my brother's friend. We have been married for 10 years, have a 2-year-old son and one on the way. Ken has always been my person, the person who you can't picture life without, and I honestly can't remember not loving him. I grew up with him. He's my everything. Unfortunately, Ken has this issue where he takes on everyone else's feelings like to heart. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, however, recently his best friend of 20 years has just found out that his wife has been cheating on him and none of the children are his. Obviously, his friend is devastated and is staying in our guest room. He's a nice guy. Just life has him down right now. He started the process of divorce. The more time Ken spends with his friend, the more depressed he's become, and distant. Our mornings used to start where I would wake up at 6 a.m. with our son make breakfast, then about 8 a.m. I could wake Ken up with a coffee and some breakfast before going to drop little one off at nursery and go to work. Ken works from home most days, only going into the office on a Monday. So I'd give him his coffee, he'd give me a kiss, and then I'd go off on my happy little way. Then I'd finish work, get our son, and go home where Ken would be making tea. I'd clean up after whilst he was bathing our son and putting him to bed. I thought this was life. It might sound boring to some, but it was my life, and I loved it. Our house was filled with love. We would spend our nights cuddling, talking, watching a movie. Date night once a month. We would take our son out together on a Saturday and then Sunday go visit family or have friends over. You get the picture. I'm rambling. Sorry. Anyway, for the past month, things have been changing. Ken is more depressed. I make him a coffee in the morning and just get a mumbled thanks. I'd come home from work and the friend and him would be in the living room watching sports. I'm now making tea. Bathing our son, neither of them will barely talk to me. We don't go out on the weekends together. I feel like a single parent. I've tried to talk to Ken about it all, but I get one-worded answers. Then he stays up till about 1 a.m., which I know it's not super late, but I'm passed out by then. I'm exhausted, alone and pregnant. I miss my husband. Yesterday I came home from work, and you know when something just doesn't feel right? Well, I went to find Ken to see what he was doing, as his friend wasn't in the house, but Ken's car was. He was in his office looking up DNA kits for our son. I asked him why, and his response was, "Well, I just want to make sure all the kids are mine before I continue looking after them, as I'm not a free childcare." This broke me. When I say I'm devastated, it's an understatement. But if he thinks that I've cheated on him, then surely the trust is gone. Is there any going back? Am I just being pregnant and hormonal? Would I be extreme for looking for a divorce? I could put the papers in the envelope with the results from the DNA test. I think I'm going to go cry in bed now. Had to take the day off work as I feel like I've just been gut-punched. I've asked my husband to move out. Am I taking this too far? November 7th, 2023, same day, 11 hours later. Hello, Reddit. Well, after my post earlier this afternoon, I cried, then read all your lovely comments, and I couldn't be more grateful. I think posting about it here really helps for some reason. Weird how telling complete strangers that I'm struggling with life seems to help. So I think after my pity party, which couldn't last long due to being a parent, I called my stepmom and dad. My mom died when I was 10. They are coming to stay with me on Friday. Crying on the phone helped, although I'm not really sure they could truly understand a word of what I was saying. I've spoken to Ken. Well, more like spoke at Ken, telling him that his friend has till Thursday to leave. I'm not a monster and can't just tell him to leave at the drop of a hat. I've also told Ken he needs to leave, too. Whilst yes, I could go to my dad's house, I don't want to disrupt my little one more than needed, and all the things for my baby is here, too. Especially as I'm 8 months along, it just seems stupid for me to be the one to leave. I've made it a point of not pointing out it's my house either. I'm trying to be calm and sensible. I'm not 100% sure Ken listened, but I did message his sister, who is a force to be reckoned with, and she said she will make sure he's gone by Thursday night. Things I've told Ken I want is yes, he can have the DNA test, but I will be damned if I'm the one to do it. He can also have one for the baby, as I ain't got shit to hide. I know that some people have questioned why I'm so against it. Let me make something clear. I would never cheat, because as I said in my last post, Ken is or was, I don't know, my person. He's the only man I've ever been with, so that isn't any concern of mine. I'm just hurt that he wants one because clearly he doesn't trust me. So, things I want. I want him to have the DNA tests mainly so I can make him eat the results. Not literally, I'm just venting. I'm also going to suggest couples therapy. I already see one due to losing my mom and my little sister in a car crash when I was little. I want to suggest he sees one alone, but you can lead a horse to water but can't make him drink it. I don't want to force him to do anything he doesn't want to do. I want him to maintain contact with our son. Yes, he doesn't believe he's the father right now, but that's no reason he should neglect him as he's his. And I don't want to upset my son. Yeah, he's only 2, but still he deserves all the love from both his parents. He's done nothing wrong. Then obviously this one when she comes along. Still not sure about the state of my marriage, but even if divorce is what happens, I need to be able to get through to him so he can be the father he was. Am I going insane? Do I sound insane? I don't know why writing here helps so much. Thanks, Reddit. My husband got his DNA test results. He still thinks I've cheated. November 13th, 2023, 6 days later. Hello again, I don't know how to update posts, so I just had to make another one. Following my 2 other posts, I will answer some questions. Yes, it is my house. It was left to me when my mom died. I have lived here all my life. I didn't move out because I have a child and one on the way, so why should I be the one to leave? I get that some people believe I was the AH for asking him to leave, but as I was heavily pregnant, have a toddler, and it's my house, I wasn't about to leave. Yes, he could have stayed, but have you tried living with someone who just wants to argue or just not talk? I'd prefer my child not to live in that environment, thank you. At the end of the day, I'm a mother first and a wife second. If you think that's harsh, then I don't know what to tell you. My children come first well, Ken's friend did leave the day I told him he had till Thursday. He wasn't happy about it and shouted some insults at me, which was amazing. Ken's sister came and picked up Ken. I wish I could tell you what she said, but she didn't say anything in front of me, just kept giving Ken death stares. We did get the DNA test for little one, and Ken is the father, obviously. Ken somehow thinks I've intercepted the results even though I wasn't the one that did it. I wasn't the one that got handed the results ECT, so he's clearly lost his mind. My dad came over, and whilst I was making tea, my waters broke. My little girl is here, she healthy and happy. She was 9 pounds 8 ounces, so no concern of anything with her. I'm now a mum of 2. I am home now, and Ken has been to see his baby girl, although as she's not had a DNA test, he disagrees with her being his because his family doesn't have many girls. Yet he has a sister, so I just rolled my eyes. I don't really know where to go from here. Ken is refusing therapy. He says there's nothing wrong with him or his brain. I beg to differ. He wants to get another DNA test for our boy, but won't tell me when or where, so I can't interfere. Maybe one day he will come to his senses. My dad and stepmom are staying with me for a while to help me with the babies. I'd like to say I'm okay, but honestly my emotions are all over the show. I don't know which is up. Ken's sister visits the babies, and we have an unspoken rule that we don't speak about Ken apart from when our son asks about him. I wish it was the kind of update where he got the results seen how much of an idiot he's been, and we move on, but sadly that's not the case. I can't dwell on it too much, just take shit one day at a time. I do miss my person, and worry that he's missing out on his baby girl's life already, which if I think about too much, I will just sit and cry, but I don't have time for that. As always, thanks for listening to me rant. I might update if anything else happens in my life. Right now, I'm still left wondering if I'm doing the right thing here. Is there anything I could do differently? Why are my kids so hard for him to accept all of a sudden? AITA for making it difficult for him to find a solicitor? November 23rd, 2023, 10 days later. Hello again, Reddit. Things have been bizarre, but now I have closure. I know what's happened to my marriage. I know what scum Ken really is. He's not my person and never truly was. So now I just want to divorce him, cut my loses, and move on with my life. am still at home with my babies, settling into motherhood. My dad and stepmom are still here, but they will be leaving soon once I'm more emotionally stable. To say I'm okay would be a lie, but I now know what I need to do. I have some sort of closure with Ken. I know what happened with him, and I know that it's not my fault. Turns out Ken was having an affair and has a baby on the way. Even typing that makes me want to throw up. I found this out when a visibly pregnant lady just knocked on my door and asked me when I would be leaving the house, as it's Ken's house. When I say this confused the crap out of me, I mean it. I talked to this woman for a while to try to work out what she was talking about. It turns out that she's Ken's side piece. Well, technically in her head she's his fiancée. A month ago, Ken got down on one knee and proposed to her in my fucking kitchen. Classy, right? So they have been seeing each other for a while. She's having his baby. She believes I'm the ex-wife who Ken is letting him stay in his house till I get on my feet. We apparently broke up a few years ago, and none of my kids are Ken's. When I gotta work in the mornings, Ken goes to her house and works from there. They were waiting for marriage to move in together. How you trying to marry someone when you are already married? Fucking weirdo. I asked for proof of all this. She has pictures of them together. Apparently, she has a account that they make content together. I told her we are still married and explained everything to her. I'm not sure what she's going to do. But hey, not my circus, not my monkey. Now I want a divorce. Is it true that once you talk to a solicitor about divorce, they can't represent the person you're divorcing? I want to go around our town and meet with as many solicitors as possible, as the first hour is free so that he has a very hard time getting representation. Is that too petty? The house is in my name only and is protected, so there is no way he can take it. I have all my money and we do have a joint account, but that's just what we put our share of household bills in. I haven't spoken directly with Ken. His family have completely cut him off and he's been kicked out of his sister's house. All those people that was concerned about him having tumor or something wrong with his brain, I really don't think that's the case. I think his actions just caught up to him as his lies were going to come out once his baby was born. I think that's what happened. He got backed into a corner and tried to fight his way out. Through divorce process, I will get the court to do DNA testing so he has proof for both, even if he chooses to not believe it. I'm mentally exhausted from all of this and sat wondering how I didn't notice. Might have to go for an eye test. But honestly, would I be so wrong for just making his life as difficult as possible to get legal advice, or is that too far? I want him to suffer. New update, 1 year later. I'm finally divorced and couldn't be happier. December 1st, 2024, 1 year later. Well, hello there again, Reddit. I'm okay. I totally just forgot about my ramblings on here, LOL. I'm doing okay. I'm officially divorced from Ken. It took a long time to get to this part of my life, and at some points I actually felt like I was drowning. Both of my kids had a DNA test through the courts, and they are Ken's. He still doesn't believe it. Not my problem, though. Ken is now in prison for domestic abuse. I'm not 100% on the details because I wasn't involved. It was his side piece. I'd love to say that sometimes I don't break down in tears and I'm completely over it. But I'm not. I've now gone back to work, though, after my maternity leave was finished. I got a promotion. And now I'm used to living with just us three. My kids keep me going, and I'm so proud of them. They go visit their grandparents and dad's side of the family, and they have been so lovely and supportive. His sister is still amazing. I don't really know what else to say. Just I'm okay. I'm divorced, and my children are thriving. I can't thank Ken for a lot of things, but I'm grateful for my children. Top comment. Commenter. I have this habit of not being able to move forward once I come across a situation like yours. I need reassurance, confirmation, and even closure to even move on. Even though the situation doesn't involve me, I hate seeing women in marriages that have a husband that cheats. Now you brought me peace in knowing that you're safe and thriving for your kids. I'm so happy that you have him out of your life, and I hope he rots in prison for his stupid behavior through all of this. I hope that you continue to thrive and continue to live your life to the fullest. Same goes for your kids. Stay safe and continue thriving, OP. OP, thank you. Story 13. AITA for breaking up with my girlfriend because of a caught cheating prank. Original post December 16th, 2024. I, 26M, broke up with my girlfriend, 25F, of 2 years because of something that happened recently. and now my friends are saying I massively overreacted. So, a few days ago, my girlfriend and a close mutual friend decided to play a prank on me. The prank was that they filmed a scenario where I caught them in bed together, pretending they were hooking up. They set up a hidden camera in the bedroom, and when I walked in, I saw him in just boxers and my girlfriend in a bra and panties, straddling him, acting like they were mid-hookup. To make it more realistic, they even made some noises and tried to act like it was happening for real. I was shocked, furious, and immediately confronted them as I thought it was real at first, like an actual betrayal, and then I walked out of the room and started leaving the house when they followed me screaming it was just a prank and then showed me the video they'd been recording. To be honest, I felt completely betrayed not just by the idea of the prank, but also because of how they had gotten undressed to film it. I know it's meant to be funny to some people, but for me, it felt disrespectful, and I was hurt. The whole thing felt like a violation of trust, even though I know they weren't actually cheating. I told her I couldn't be in a relationship with someone who would do something like that, and I ended things right there. She's devastated, and our friends have been telling me I overreacted. They think it was just a harmless prank and I should have taken it better. But I can't shake the feeling that it crossed a line for me, especially with how intimate and uncomfortable it felt to see them in that situation, even if it wasn't real. Now I'm left wondering if I made the right decision. I'm starting to doubt myself because everyone else seems to think I blew it out of proportion. Edit. I did not expect this many responses, thank you guys. She posted here earlier and sent me a link to her post. I know she wants me to watch the video to prove it was all set up and planned, but I feel she still doesn't get that I am upset about her disregard and disrespect for me and our relationship. Anyways, I'm going to sign off for the night. Update. My ex-GF was really upset with all the hate she received online and blamed me for painting her in a bad light. I told her I diss no such thing. She just didn't like that she got called out on her behavior. The mutual friend who was part of the prank is now also pissed off at me and saying I went way overboard. I told them both to fuck off and have blocked their numbers. Our friends have since started taking this more seriously after reading some of the comments on here, with a few taking my side and saying what my GF and the friend did was horrible. Others still think this was all unnecessary, and I should just have laughed it off and moved on. Added comments. Commente. NTA. How does your GF of 2 years not know you well enough to know what you'd find funny? Like even if you prank all the time with each other, she should know you and what you would find actually funny. If you're not laughing, it's not actually a prank. It's just them hurting you and then blaming you for being hurt. OP. Yep, I told her that. She says she wanted to try something new and unexpected and didn't think I would feel so strongly about it. Commente. Still no apology? That prank was super fucked up. This isn't the end of the story. OP. She did eventually apologize. I'm so sorry, baby. I didn't mean to hurt you. But breaking up over this is so stupid when you know I did nothing wrong. It was just a prank. Her last message to me. I think my boyfriend is overreacting for breaking up with me over my caught cheating prank. AITA, December 17th, 2024. The text was saved in the commoners by u/Bensel_McPrush. My boyfriend posted here a few hours ago and shared the link with me to show me what people thought about what I did and that he is not overreacting. I thought I'd come on here and give my version of events for a more nuanced take. I planned the cheating prank with our close mutual friend several days ago. We were hanging out and scrolling through TikTok videos and came across prank shorts between couples. We went down the rabbit hole and ended up watching YouTube videos of cheating pranks. And I mentioned it would be funny to try a cheating prank on my boyfriend to find out what his reaction would be. He said he would do one with me, and I agreed because it was someone my BF liked and trusted, so I thought it would be harmless. It started out as a hypothetical plan, but over the course of the conversation, and while hashing out details, it turned into a real plan, and we agreed to the day we would do it, when my BF would be out and come back home to find us together. We set up the camera and filmed ourselves talking about the prank, and set it up on top of the dresser in the bedroom and got into position. We were laughing throughout, and it is all on video. To make it believable, I told him to take off his shirt. He said I should probably do the same, so we did. Then he thought it would be even more believable and provide that shock factor if we also took off our pants. In hindsight, this was a terrible idea, but I agreed to it. You know how the rest of the story went from his post. But what he didn't mention is that he refused to watch the video I recorded, showing that it was a planned prank, that we only took off our clothes and got into sex position when we knew he was home. I understand that this prank was extra and hurtful to him, and for that I am sorry. But I am not cheating on him, and I did not mean to disrespect our relationship. I think him breaking up with me is a massive overreaction because other than this incident, which I now massively regret, our relationship was great. We shared 2 wonderful years together and moved in together over the summer. I plan on deleting the video and won't be sharing it on social media, but I will share it with him first for proof of my intentions.